So Tallinn is deciding to give away free public transport, and why is it you decided to do that?
No, first of all, it's social considerations. As a result of the crisis, the purchasing power of most majority of population decreased critically. We had to provide something to most of people to maintain their purchasing power, to maintain their mobility options, to maintain their labor options, to provide mobility to the unemployed and underemployed. Second group of arguments, it's environmental. We had to do something with car pollution in the center of the city. We do presume the modal shift appearing as a result of free public transport will decrease the number of cars in the center. The prioritizing of free public transport as such, exclusive bus lanes, expanding the parking area, raising the charges for parking in the center is one big complex of measures. Prioritizing public transport and free public transport is one of these measures. And the third, it's of course a fiscal aspect. We do presume we can raise the number of registered population in Tallinn, and as a result we would improve our fiscal position. The major source of the municipal income is a personal income tax, and we are dependent directly and heavily from the registered number of the population, and we do increase thus the population.
And this will cost 14 million euros a year. You expect will pay all of the costs that people will begin to register as citizens in the city?
In total, yes, we do expect 14 millions a year annually will be extra for covering the Tallinners' free ride in the limits of the city. We do expect most of this cost will be covered by the raise of the number of the citizens. But it's not going to be the only source. We do save also from the merger, which happened already, of the municipal transport companies. We merged the tram, trolley, and the bus companies. There is now one management, and we do save also from the investments which are completing to the water company. So we do have several sources in the basket of funding this free public transport.
And how exactly will it work? Because foreigners, tourists, they're still obliged to pay for public transport, and also citizens from neighboring counties. And how will the payment work for them?
The ticketing system and the control system remains in place. It was even improved. We implemented the contactless card from September, and now we will have a full and appropriate online statistics about the usage of every single bus. Yes, it's true. Every other person than Tallinn citizen is continuing to pay for a ride, and our message in this regard is directed to the national government to subsidize public transport. So for Tallinn, public transport is not subsidized by the national funds at all. So we are free to provide service at the expense of city budget to the city residents. But our message to the national government is that, of course, this similar measure would be expanded to at least to the counties surrounding us, and why not nationwide? But then the national funding have to be involved. So we expect our policy would inspire or provoke national government also to consider the prioritizing public transport.
Mm-hmm. So when you did your presentation with the Baltic Sea Group conference in here just before, you put forward a lot of positive arguments in favor of giving free public transport. But I assume there has been some arguments against. Maybe people will begin to stop using their bike and take the bus instead, and similar arguments have probably been raised in the discussions. What were the arguments against?
Definitely, we should and must not avoid in discussion the counter-arguments and the risks which are coinciding with free public transport. We have had these arguments on table also during the local referendum campaign. Referendum was held in March this year. People voted for, but the risks described were in Tallinn, among others, was indeed the argument that the current bikers, cyclers, would shift to the bus. It's a real risk, and the experience of other cities practicing free public transport have faced it. Difference between us and Copenhagen is that the number or the share of the cyclers is in Tallinn non-existent. There is not much to lose in this regard.
Has there been other arguments against public transport?
The risk which was discussed and which remains a challenge is, of course, not to turn the public vehicles, public transport, to the another winter shelter, to the homeless, to the let's say unsocialized persons. It's definitely it's a big issue, and but it have to be dealt anyway. City have to be able to anyway to provide shelter, appropriate shelter and sanitary conditions to everybody. So we can't stop providing free public transport only because there would be people who are not fit to use public space appropriately. It's a big issue, but it's another issue. But it remains a risk. There would be a risk if the number of the yaus will increase in the buses, will increase the risk of vandalism, will security risks, and it have to be tackled as well. It's a big issue, definitely.
Well, good luck with your experiment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.